everyone, my name is Sydney and welcome back to my channel. This video is really long overdue. I was supposed to film this video 2 years ago, but I never got around to it, and I apologize on my behalf. But to be honest with you, like, I got lazy and I forgot about it. But I am back and I'm going to be making videos every Monday. I'm committed this time. I'm gonna do it. I stated in my Rapture Surf Camp review video that I was gonna be reviewing Kima Surf Camp because I was supposed to stay there for a week. However, I only ended up staying there for a day and a half, and I'll get into that later on in the video. If you haven't seen my Rapture Surf Camp review video, I will definitely link that down below if you guys want to go check that out. I went back to Bali last year and I was actually supposed to go again this year for the third time. However, unfortunately that trip got canceled due to COVID. Hopefully things will lighten up next year and we'll be back in Bali and I can make more videos. So today I'll be discussing the pros, the cons, the things that I think that Kima can improve on. Let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is my arrival at Kima Surf Camp. When I first got there, everyone was super welcoming. I noticed they had a 24/7 desk. That showed me that they were organized, because when I went to Rapture, they didn't have that. They had someone who took my luggage for me and escorted it to my room. They had a welcome drink for me, a cooling towel, and they also had someone to show me around the camp. Just my first impression was that they were really organized, everyone was really nice, and I felt really welcomed. Kima also gave me this Swifty little Hydro Flask water bottle. The next thing I want to talk about is the accommodation. They have 4 different accommodation types, which is the dormitory, which is where I stayed. They had a single, a 2-person, and a luxury villa. I personally stayed in the dormitory just because it was a little bit more cost effective for me. However, the dormitory is not on the main Kima campus. It's about a 5-minute walk. It's not bad. It's just I didn't like the fact that the dormitory wasn't like on the campus, just because you kind of feel excluded a little bit. The dormitory was nice, it was clean, we had daily housekeeping. However, my only issue was the mosquitoes. There were so many mosquitoes in the dormitory, and that was because my roommates never ever shut the door all the way. They never did. Like, I mentioned to them twice, like, hey, like, is it cool if, like, you know, you can leave the door closed when you leave or when you come in, just so we can keep out the mosquitoes. However, they never did. You can request to get a mosquito net from the front desk and they would be more than happy to give it to you. We also had our own pool, which was nice. Next thing I want to talk about is the food. Okay, so the food at Kima was delicious. Breakfast is included. However, if you miss breakfast and you have early morning surf, the camp is more than happy to give you a complimentary lunch since you missed breakfast, which is really nice. They have a pretty large variety of food. Dinner is not included. They do have a wide variety of options for dinner. You have the option to do a meal package, so that way your dinners will be included throughout your stay. However, most people did go out for dinner. Which leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, the location. The location of Kima was really good. Like, you're in the center of Canggu and you're within walking distance of restaurants, bars, beaches. Kima itself was about a 5-minute walk from Canggu Beach. Nightlife, you're near everything. You don't really need a scooter. You can honestly walk everywhere. However, if you do prefer a scooter, they have that option where you can rent them out for a certain amount of money a day. I can't remember, but it really wasn't that expensive. The main strip of Canggu is about a 5-minute walk from the camp. The nightlife in Canggu is really good as well. Pretty much everyone goes out at night. Some places that I recommend to check out is Old Man's, Pretty Poison, and Discharge. There's like a certain night of the week where everybody goes out. I think on Wednesdays was Old Man's. They called it Dirty Old Wednesdays at Old Man. Pretty Poison I think was Thursdays, and Taco Tuesdays and tattoos at Discharge. If you buy a taco, you get a free tattoo. It's kind of questionable because I went to go check it out and they don't change the needle, they only change the ink. So, but there's like normally a huge line of people waiting to get a free tattoo. I mean, it's for free. The next thing I want to talk about is the surf. The surf was really organized at Kima. So they have a star system at Kima, ranging from 1 star to 5 star. 1 being beginner, 5 being the most advanced. What you do is that the day before you go out for surf, you go to the dining area and they have an iPad and you can log into the iPad and you see when all the star level groups are going to be leaving. So for example, it would be like 1 stars are leaving at 6:30 in the morning, going to go surf Batu Belong Beach. So it tells you the star the time that you're going to be leaving, and the location of the place that you're going to be surfing at, which is pretty convenient. So like, for example, if I surf 1 star one day and I'm like, wow, like I'm way too advanced for this, I can go surf with 2 stars the next day. So I thought that was really organized, and I really liked the system and how they did that. However, if you're an absolute beginner, you can surf with the 1 stars if you are a pretty quick learner. However, if you're not comfortable with that, they have a 3-day beginner surf class where you pretty much learn from the very beginning. Like, that's for people who like never surfed before and they need more well-rounded teaching. The 1 stars do surf the white waters at a beach break, which is perfect. The water is way steep, so it's not that intimidating, opposed to Rapture where they just threw me with the wolves. They didn't give a shit. They were like, you're gonna fucking paddle out. I wasn't ready to paddle out my first time, but hey, what are you gonna do? 1 stars, they don't paddle out. They stay on the shore and they work on their stance. 2 star and up, you paddle out. I'm pretty sure 2 stars, you just catch like green waves. When I went out to go surfing, my first day, I surfed with the 1 star folks just because I wasn't sure what a 1 star entailed of, but I felt like I was a little bit too advanced for that. But I did feel safe with the instructors. Like, I thought the instructors were very knowledgeable, they were polite, they were approachable, and they gave you really good criticism on how you can improve your surf. Next thing I want to talk about with Kima is the yoga. So they do have daily yoga. It's every day at a set time. I didn't like the yoga. I thought the instructor was I didn't really like her style. Normally yoga is like tranquil and, you know, you just got done surfing, so you're ready to like stretch it out, work out a little bit more. But she didn't narrate. She was playing music off of her phone. There were no speakers or anything, just you literally hear music coming from her phone. So like the volume was weird, and whenever she switched poses, she was like, here, and I was like, girl, no. She literally did that, she literally did that the entire time. I was just so confused. I'm like, normally it's like, okay, breathe in, breathe out, downward facing dog. Like, I'm not trying to hate. That's just her style, and I respect that. Next thing I want to talk about is the booking. When I was there 2 years ago, at the time, Kima was only accepting wire transfer and cash for your booking. They didn't have a credit card system. So it's kind of hard to get out that much rupees when you're going to pay in cash unless you already had that on you. Most people did the wire transfer. However, in my circumstance, I told them, hey, I'm not really too familiar with wire transfers and I don't have that much cash on me, so is it cool if I pay with PayPal? And they were totally okay with that. If they're still only accepting wire transfers and cash, but you feel like neither one of them fit for you, you can ask them if you can do PayPal, and I'm sure they will accommodate you. The Kima Surf Camp in Canggu is actually the main one because Kima has a bunch of other surf camps all over Bali as well. And a lot of people don't know this. Kima in the Padang area is actually Rapture Camp. And I think that's because that Kima acquired Rapture. And a lot of people who book Kima in the Padang area don't actually know that they're booking Rapture Camp. And that caused like a lot of confusion with a lot of people at Rapture. And I don't know, it was just like a little bit of a weird situation. The next thing I want to talk about is the people. So the instructors were great. The people who stayed there were really nice. I did notice that like the people in the dormitory hung out with the people only from like the dormitory, not on the main campus. And the people on the main campus hung out with people on the main campus. Kima Surf in Canggu is more family oriented. So there were a few kids there, a few families there, which was cool. Like, I didn't mind it at all. But I felt like at Kima, since it's so big, there really wasn't a sense of togetherness, unlike Rapture. Like, for example, like they didn't really organize nightlife for the camp as like a whole to like bond and like hang out with each other. At Rapture, they did that every night. I stayed at another surf camp called Mondo, and they did that every night, and it was more of like a chill, laid back atmosphere compared to Rapture, because Rapture was like a ratchet surf version of the real world. So let's get into the part of the video where I only stayed there for a day and a half. So when I arrived to Kima, I arrived there like around the evening, like 5-6 o'clock. So I didn't go surfing that day. The next day I went surfing, yoga, hung out. So my first day and a half at Kima, I only ate at Kima. I didn't eat anywhere else just because, hey, like I stated before, the food was delicious. And I already stayed in Canggu a week prior to me arriving to Kima. So I kind of had the feel for what a lot of restaurants were like in the area. I decided to only eat at Kima the first day and a half. Plus, I already bought a meal package. After I had dinner the second day, I started to feel a little off. But like, I just figured like, oh, like, I don't know what this is, but like, it'll pass, right? That night, I woke up around 5 a.m. and I was like, holy shit, like, I feel horrible. Like, I feel nauseous. I have a headache and like my body just hurt, man. Like, I don't know why it just hurt, but maybe it was from surfing, right? I took Advil and I went back to sleep thinking it will do its trick. And I woke up at around 7 a.m. My group was gonna go out around 7:30 and I'm like, wow, I still feel horrible. So I told my roommate, who was on her way to walk towards the main campus, I was like, hey, you know, can you let them know that I'm not gonna be able to make it? I'm just not feeling well. Because at the dormitory, there is no front desk. They don't have security, and they don't have like a manager or anybody like that around that you can communicate to. So my roommate was like, yeah, sure, I'll let them know. And I went back to sleep. I think I woke up at around 11. Like, I was shaking, like I was hyperventilating, I was shaking, like I was sweating, but I was cold. And I was just like, what in the hell? Like, what is going on? My headache got worse, my stomach intensified, my nausea, but like I was like, I couldn't move. Like, I felt like I can't explain the feeling. Like, I've never had this feeling before in my entire life. But the thing is that at that point, everyone has already left for surf. There's nobody in my dorm, there's no one around, and I can't move, but I need somebody to help me. So what I decided to do was call my boyfriend, and I'm like, oh my god, babe, like something is wrong. Like, I don't know what it is, but I need help and I need somebody here with me, and I need to go to like a hospital. I need to see like a doctor or somebody. My boyfriend's like, I'll call the front desk for you and tell them to send somebody to check in on you. My boyfriend calls the front desk. The people at the front desk were like, oh, she's fine. Her roommate already told us that she was going to be missing surf. My boyfriend's like, no, you need to go check on her. Like, something's wrong. So they sent the security guard to come in, which he did. He came into my room. He's like, hey, are you good? I was like, no, like, can you call like an ambulance, or like, can you call like a doctor? He's like, okay, sure. So they went back and they called a doctor for me, and a doctor, it was like a team of like 5 doctors that showed up. However, the doctors didn't show up until 2 hours later. I thought I was gonna die. Like, I felt that bad. I've never felt that horrible before in my entire life. What took them so long was that the doctors actually went to the main campus, and then they were looking around for me on the main campus. But I don't understand why they were looking for me at the main campus. We're in the system. I should have been in the system that I was at the dormitory. Literally had to walk from the main campus to where I was, and that's what took them so long. So they showed up, they gave me an IV with some fluids, and it really, like, I stopped shaking. Like, it really started to like calm down my system. So like an hour and a half later, they were like, okay, like, we think you have food poisoning or Bali belly, or there's something in your system. So they decided to give me some meds, and they were like, so take these and we'll call you and check on you a little bit later to see how you're doing. I was like, okay, perfect. So after the IV, I'm like, wow, like, I'm really starting to feel better. Like, I should be back surfing tomorrow. But the thing is that when I took my medication, I threw it up right away. Like, I couldn't keep it down. I'm like, oh, that's not good. The ice started to progressively get worse, and it felt like the IV fluids were starting to like wear off or whatever they gave me. They actually reached out to me before I had the chance to reach out to them, because I was gonna call them and say, hey, like, this ain't working. I pretty much let them know, like, hey, what was going on. They're like, this isn't good. We're gonna call an ambulance and we're gonna come get you. Lord have mercy. What took the ambulance so long, because it took like maybe about an hour and a half for the ambulance to show up. And guess what took them so long? Because they went to the main campus, they looked around for me at the main campus, realized I was at the dormitory, so they had to come to the dormitory. I was pissed that this happened again for like the second time. I don't understand why this 24/7 desk lady, it ain't in the system that I'm in the dormitory. It's pretty late at this point. It's like around like 1 a.m. So we go in the ambulance, we go to the hospital. This is why it's good to have travel insurance. I used Travel Insured. I'll link it down below if you guys want to check it out. But honestly, this was the best travel insurance company that I could have went with So I gave my travel insurance to the nurse, and she was like, we're definitely gonna have to keep you here overnight. And I was like, all right, fine. Passed out. I woke up in the hospital bed, and I'm getting a phone call from my travel insurance. I was like, oh, okay. And the travel insurance lady was like, hey, like, you know, I'm just calling in to check in on you. You know, we just got notified that you're in the hospital, but don't worry, we're taking care of everything. They're sending us the paperwork. You're gonna get reimbursed for all of this. Like, we got you. And I was like, thank you, Jesus. When I passed out, I saw like a little bit of light, right? So I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my time. This is all right, like, let's get it. So I'm like walking down, you know, the tunnel where I thought I saw Jesus, and then Jesus was like, Sydney, just stop it. Stop being so overdramatic. Turn around. Don't come to the light. Just turn around and go deal with this. The next day, and the doctor comes in and he's like, you don't have Bali belly. You got a parasite. A what? Oh, the doctor was like, yeah, like this parasite could have came from what you ate. It could have came from a dirty fork, but most likely it's from the food that you ate. And I'm like, holy shit, Kima Surf Camp gave me a parasite. This is not cool. And I ended up being in the hospital for the remainder of the week. I was so pissed, you guys. I was so pissed because obviously this took a huge damper in my trip, because the doctor also told me that I'm not gonna be able to surf for 2 weeks. I called Kima Surf and I was just letting them know, like, hey, like, I'm in the hospital. All my stuff is still there. They're like, yeah, but are you gonna come back for your stuff? Like, they didn't ask me like how I was doing or anything like that. Kind of pissed that the lady on the phone kind of gave me attitude. She made it seem like I was inconveniencing her. One, they were kind of rude to me on the phone. Two, I wasn't getting a refund considering that I literally got sick from them. And three, they didn't apologize, and they just kept denying that I didn't get sick from them, because they're like, oh, like, it couldn't have been from us. I only ate at the camp when I was there, so it had to have been from you guys. And the day that I got discharged was the day that I was actually supposed to be checking out of chemo. I felt tremendously better, and they gave me antibiotics to be on for another 2 weeks, but unfortunately I couldn't surf those 2 weeks, so I was just gonna check into a B&B and pretty much recover there. Somewhere nearby in Canggu, really nice pool. It was like right by the beach. I was like, oh, this is like the perfect place to recover from a parasite. I went back to Kima Surf Camp. I packed my stuff, and one of the managers came in and he was like, you're getting your stuff, right? I'm like, yeah, like, that's why I'm here. He goes, oh, okay, because we have somebody coming in later on today. I was like, okay, but looking at the time, it's not even checkout time. Checkout time is 12 p.m. It's 9 a.m. So like, what's the rush? Like, I understand you need to like housekeep, but like, guys, like, I'm gonna get my stuff. I wanted to go to the front desk to confront them. Like, hey, like, I really don't appreciate the way you guys were treating me when I was in the hospital. I really don't appreciate the fact that you guys were in denial about me getting sick from your camp, instead of just apologizing and saying, okay, it may have happened and we apologize for it. But they didn't. And I was also kind of pissed too, like, I wasn't gonna get a refund. I'm like, I get that my stuff is there, but like, guys, like, come on, this is a special circumstance. Lucky for me, my travel insurance reimbursed me for my entire missed stay at Kima. So all the money that I paid at Kima, my travel insurance reimbursed me. I did enjoy my day and a half at Kima. I was excited. I was looking forward to what the week was gonna bring me. I was excited to improve on my surfing skills. I was excited to work with these new instructors who seem to know a lot. However, my parasite got in the way of things, unfortunately. Just because this happened to me doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna happen to you. And just because this happened to me doesn't mean that, you know, it's a bad surf camp. I'm not saying that at all. Kima Surf Camp looked like a great surf camp. I know people who had great experiences with Kima. However, unfortunately, my experience wasn't that great. And because of that, it kind of just ruined it for me. And I will never stay at Kima Surf Camp in Canggu again. Next time I go to Bali, I'll check out the Kima Surf in Seminyak. However, I did hear that that camp is a little bit more party central. I don't know if something like that is my taste because I kind of like to be a little bit more laid back. So yeah, that concludes my Kima Surf Camp review. If you have any questions, please leave them down below and I will definitely try my best to answer them. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe because I will be making more content regarding some other surf camps that I stayed at in Bali. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!